You're listening to the Savage Nation. With us right now is billionaire Donald J. Trump, the world's most famous businessman, with his new book, Time to Get Tough. And the fact of the matter is, Donald Trump has been on this program before. He stepped away from running for president for now, and we're going to ask him a number of questions. Donald Trump, thank you for joining us on the Savage Nation.
Hello, Michael. How are you?
Well, I'm glad that you're on the air. I missed you when I was in Florida. It would have been fun to have some shrimp together.
Good. Well, you have to stop by. I'm in Florida right now, actually. It's beautiful. The weather is beautiful.
See, we're shivering out here. Look, Donald, here's the thing. I want to talk about your book, but my listeners are clamoring to know one question, and I have to ask it of you, and I think you would be disappointed in me if I didn't ask it.
Okay.
They're saying, why would you consider running for president in 2012 if that's what you are thinking of doing, when they believe splitting the ticket that way and pulling off X percent of conservative votes would only hand the election to President Obama?
Right. Michael, I'd rather not do it, but if the wrong Republican candidate gets chosen, which is possible. I mean, I'm looking at what's going on like yo-yos. I've never seen anything like it. And if the economy continues to be bad, which it probably will, because I think we have an incompetent leader. I think he doesn't know what he's doing, certainly as to the economy and other things. I would certainly consider it. And I really feel this way. People do not love the Republicans. I'm a Republican. People do not love the Republicans, to put it mildly, and they certainly don't love the Democrats. And I think at this time, the right independent could absolutely win. Now, I happen to think if I ran, I'd take a lot of votes away from Obama. But I agree, it could hurt the Republicans. I actually think the Republicans wouldn't win. I think I'd have a good chance of winning if I ran. And polls show me that. But
interesting.
I really believe that I would.
Well, you said something interesting. By the way, one of my callers agrees with you that you would actually pull a lot of the independents away from Obama.
I really think I'd take more votes away from Obama. And people are surprised when I say that, but everything indicates that I would take more votes away from Obama. If you look at what China is doing to us, if you look at what the world is doing to us, if you look today, I mean, take a look at Iraq. It's blowing up. And I've been saying, Michael, I was on your show many times, and I said, the day we leave, and I didn't mean today, but I said the day we leave, Iraq is going to blow up. Look what happens with, you see what's going on, where they want to arrest the vice president. They're going to end up having a civil war. Now, I didn't think it was going to take one day. It turned out I was right. You know, we left.
Donald, look what they're doing to Christians in this liberated Iraq. Churches are being burned. Christians are being killed, driven out of Iraq. It's astounding what went on there. In your book, which we have to talk about because I'm an author and I know what it's all about, Time to Get Tough, Making America Number One Again. I want to highlight some of the things that you point out. The right president can make America rich again. You say, take the oil. Amen. Do I believe in that? He said, we are the Saudi Arabia of natural gas. Right. China is not our friend. Get tough. Tax China for cheating. Why demonize rich people? Amen to that. My $100 million gift to the U.S. goes uncollected, and so forth and so on. Do you think these points in your book, Time to Get Tough, will resonate with the average American?
I think so. The book is selling great, but I think so. I mean, I really do. And with the $100 million gift, I offered to build a ballroom for the White House. You know, when a dignitary comes to the White House, they're in a tent. They put them in a tent. And I saw that. And I said, you know, here we have the United States. I said, if they can, I'm very good at ballrooms. I built the best ballroom in the country in Mar-a-Lago, which is in Palm Beach, Florida. And
gorgeous.
You've seen it. And to be honest, I'm good at building ballrooms. So it's going to cost anywhere from $50 to $100 million. So I told representatives at the highest level of the Obama administration, listen, I will make a gift. I will build the greatest ballroom anywhere in this country at the White House. We'll pick 10 architects, all great. We'll choose the one we like, and we'll build something spectacular that goes with it. I never heard back. This is what it's all about. I never heard back. $100 million gift.
Donald, you know why you never heard back? The reason you didn't hear back is because no one could grab any vigorish off your gift.
I think you're right. Actually, I think you're right.
Time to Get Tough. Billionaire Donald J. Trump says it's time to make America number one again. I want to go to one of your key points because I've published the same in Trickle Up Poverty, the tariffs on China. But I love what you say about the oil. Take the oil. What do you mean by that?
Well, I'll give you two examples, and they're both, I think, 100% valid, although we've lost one opportunity pretty much because we were there. All we had to do is stay. As sure as you're sitting there, Iran will take over Iraq. They may let a little more time go than one day, but already that country is imploding, and you can see what's going on over there with the president and everything. It's a disaster. So, and as sure as you're sitting there, Iran is going to take over Iraq. And what people don't know is that Iraq has the second largest oil reserves in the world, okay, after Saudi Arabia. So Iraq is going to be taken over by Iran, and I think even more than the country, they want the oil. So I said, every time you have a war, to the victor belong the spoils. I said,
Amen.
We should keep the oil, or we should at least, at a minimum, pay back the $1.5 trillion. Now, they have $15 trillion of oil reserve, $15 trillion.
Right.
We spent $1.5 trillion on that ridiculous war. So
right.
I say we, number one, take that. Number two, every soldier killed should get $5 million for the family. Now, it sounds like a lot of money. It's nothing compared to the value of it. It's peanuts. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny little fraction.
Beautiful.
Every soldier killed should get $5 million, and every soldier so badly wounded. I have a lot of events for soldiers that are wounded, in particular in that war, and they're so badly wounded, without legs, without arms, just horribly wounded, and they should get a couple of million, 2, 3, 4. They're going to be paying medical costs for the rest of their lives. Their lives are so badly hurt and so badly damaged, and they should get a few $1 million at a minimum. It's a tiny, tiny little fraction. Okay, we should keep the oil. Now, the trucks have all left. It's harder now. It's harder. You have to go back in, et cetera, et cetera. Now they'll say it's a sovereign country. How dare you even? But an even easier example was this. When we had Libya, and Gaddafi was absolutely routing about 7 or 8 months. People forget. But he was routing the so-called, the wonderful rebels, as they call themselves.
Yes.
Gone with the wind, even though they come from Iran, and also they were our enemies. But now, now they're our great friends, but they're not our friends. So they came to us 7 months ago, and they said, we're being routed. We can't hold out more than another 2 days. Will you help us? Obama said yes, through NATO, but we're NATO. So Obama said yes. Now, if he would have said, yes, I will help you, but we want 50% of your oil, they would have said, absolutely 100% you have a deal. Signed right here on the dotted line. You would have had it signed in 10 minutes. It would have been over, and we would have gone
unbelievable.
And we would have picked up $2 trillion worth of value. We didn't do that. We're stupid. We're stupid. And now, by the way, if you went to them and said, now they're all splitting up the oil, all the rebels are having a lot of fun. You could probably have 20 Gaddafis. And by the way, the worst one will emerge as the leader. The worst one, and the one that hurts our country the worst, or the most.
Always, it's always true. The most vicious win.
Those are 2 examples. Iraq, keep the oil. We didn't do it. It's gone. And the other is Libya.
Donald, I got to say something. If you do run and you do win, I should be your Secretary of State, and I'll tell you why. Back in 2006 or 2008, I wrote a book called Liberalism is a Mental Disorder. I'm not asking you to agree with my premise, because you'd lose half the members of your club. But in that book, I said that this could turn out to be Obama's greatest blunder, because it's going to create a greater Persia. I looked at it. I looked at the map. I knew that Iraq was once part of Persia. I knew that Ahmadinejad was ruling a Shiite nation. I knew that Saddam, as bad as he was a minority Sunni controlling the Shia. And here we are looking exactly at what I predicted and what you say is going to happen, because it is happening. It's amazing to me that ordinary citizens such as you and I seem to know more than the political class itself.
Well, it's really common sense. My only question is, and my only doubt is, will a shot be fired, or are they just going to make a deal? Because if you notice, Iran has become very close with the rulers of Iraq, very, very close. And they're doing deals, they're making business, they're doing lots of things. So my only question is this. There's no question that they take it over. I have two, I wonder about 2 things. Timing, I think it's going to be very soon. And the other thing is, will a shot be fired? Because I'm not even sure a shot will ever be fired. I think they're just going to merge out. And we will have destroyed all of these lives, and we will have spent $1.5 trillion so that Iran can take over Iraq. And as sure as you're sitting there, that's what's going to happen. And
and that's Bush's greatest blunder. I don't understand how people don't see this.
Bush, and then it was carried forward. That's true. Hey, look, I'm no fan of Bush. Bush is not my guy. Bush, what he did, when the World Trade Center came down, it wasn't Iraq that knocked down the World Trade Center. Okay, when the World Trade Center came down, and say what you want about Saddam Hussein, he killed the terrorists. If there was a terrorist, they shot him. Right? There were no terrorists in Iraq. Now it's the Harvard. It's the breeding ground for. If you want to be a terrorist, you go to Iraq. That's where they teach you how to be a terrorist. It's Harvard of terrorism. So, I'm no fan of Bush, but it was then it was exacerbated, and then they leave. And by the way, they're all saying, "Well, great, we got thrown out." They didn't leave. As you know, Obama wanted to stay. He wanted to keep a military force there. They said, "No, we want you out," and they threw us out.
It's time to get tough.
Hard to believe.
It's time to get tough by Donald Trump, who is tough-talking in real life and would be a tough-talking president. So I'm going to ask you this. Romney is a milquetoast. Romney is not conservative enough for me socially or militarily, I don't think. But isn't he better than Obama?
Well, I actually think almost anybody is better than Obama. I think Obama is a complete and total catastrophe. I think if you look at who is running. I mean, you could almost say anybody is better than Obama. You could pick somebody off the street and say, I think you'd do a better job than Obama.
You're making me laugh because, I can say these things, but you're not supposed to say them, Donald. You have friends at the highest places.
I don't care. I do say things, and people, I guess, they like to listen because everybody wants me on their shows, so obviously they want them. And I love doing your show, and I love listening to you. One of the great pleasures is sitting in my car listening to your show. I don't get to do it enough because I'm not in my car that much, okay, but I love it. But I will say, I just say what's on my mind, and I don't care what people, when I say keep the oil, people would say, I never heard of that. In the old days, you had a war. If you won the war, you kept the whole place, right? Now, think of it. We won a war, and we leave. We won a war. We spend $1.5 trillion, thousands of lives and injuries and everything else, and then we leave. What do we get out of it? And now,
Donald,
day after the
I hear you. Right. What was the point of the war? What, to liberate 24 million ungrateful Shia? I don't understand it.
But we didn't liberate anybody, Michael. It's going to be a civil war over there, the likes of which you've never seen.
Donald, when we come back on the Savage Nation, I'd like to open it up to a few questions to the millions of listeners to the program. But I have a number one question. In a minute we come back from this commercial break, which is North Korea. Nobody has mentioned the fact that one of the world's great dictators has died. They talk about him as though he was just another leader in a bland term. We know he was a mass murderer. I'd like to hear your opinion on what you would do with North Korea today. I'll be right back. The world's most famous businessman is Donald Trump. 1-800-449-8255. He's on the program right now. You may not know this, but we grew up in a very similar neighborhood. He was the son of German immigrants. His father was the son of German immigrants who became an entrepreneur and created thousands of jobs and wealth and homes for thousands of people. I lived on the other side of Union Turnpike, and his wonderful mother was an immigrant from Scotland. And Donald Trump is an entrepreneur who has created thousands and thousands of jobs. You don't have to, there's a lot of naysayers out there about everybody, myself included. Anybody who does anything is attacked in this country. Donald, welcome back to the Savage Nation.
Thank you, Michael.
Donald, why is it that people hate people who are successful? Have you ever looked at the psychology of that?
Well, I don't like to even think about it. I get a lot of good plaudits. And, in fact, one thing I did in my book is when I was thinking very seriously, and I still am, about running, I did a financial disclosure form, and it's a huge form. It's a form that covered many, many, many pages. And I took the summary pages, and I said, I'm a private company. Nobody knows what I'm worth, but I'm going to put it down in my book. And I actually put, and I don't know if you noticed this, but
it's right in front of me, page 180 and 81. This is your tax form. How'd you do? You put Schedule A in the book.
Right. I put the summary sheets in the book of my net worth and my cash and my debt and how much debt I owe, and it's very little, and how much I'm worth, and it's a lot. And I said to myself, I'm very proud of the company I built, and a lot of people don't know. They say, "Oh, he's full of crap," or he's really not. But now they see the numbers, and they're really, I think they're very impressed. Some people, the smart people that know me and know something about my company, they sort of estimate it. But I gave the numbers, and I put the numbers out there, and I'm very proud of it, Michael. I'm very proud of the numbers.
You should be.
It came out to over $7 billion. I built it in a relatively short period of time. The cash is tremendous. The lack of debt is amazing to people. And that's the kind of a country we need. We need a rich country in order to do the kinds of things that a lot of the liberals want, okay? I'm a fan of Social Security, big one. I'm a fan of Medicare, but we have to be able to afford it, and this country can't afford it. We owe $15 trillion, and then we go into wars and we don't get anything for them. You know, so it's a very sad situation.
Donald Trump's book is Time to Get Tough. Listen to this. Real tort reform right now. I could have written that, Donald. You're the only one daring to take on the trial lawyers. Then you said it's called illegal immigration for a reason. Hey, borders, language, culture. That's beautiful. No one else is talking about this, Donald.
No, they don't talk about it. And, you know, one of the things that is really amazing, we use our schools to educate people that then compete against us. And you'll have kids coming over from China, from India, from all these countries. They go to Harvard, they go to Yale, they go to the Wharton School of Finance. We educate them, and then we throw them right out of the country. And I do talk about a merit-based system for coming in. And, you know, a lot of people say, oh, isn't that terrible what he says? I don't care what they say. If somebody is a person of great achievement, a doctor, some kind, I won't even say a lawyer, okay, but a doctor, a physicist or whatever, and they want to come into the country, we're to make it easy for them to come into the country. If they graduate from Harvard at the top of their class, and then we throw them out, we take away their card, and we throw them out the day after graduation, and they go back to China, and they become our competitor when they actually wanted to stay in this country, I think we're just crazy. So we ought to have a real merit-based. I call it merit-based. If somebody is a person of achievement, we should make it easy for them to come into this country because that's good for this country. Problem is we take people that are not going to help us, that come in illegally, and in many cases are criminals and causing tremendous crime and killing people. And by the way, those are the people that stay. But if you go to a great school and you do well at that great school, we throw you out immediately. Now, you tell me, is there? So I like a merit-based system.
Well, there has to be a cap on that as well. Now, you do erect the world's best buildings, including the Trump World Towers at the UN Plaza. You know, building a building can't be easy. I know what it's like to renovate a small suburban house.
Right.
And that can go wrong, Donald. It can go. You take a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Many people listening to this show probably flipped houses during the real estate boom. They hired guys to do the tile and to do the floors over, right? They know what a mess it is dealing with subcontractors.
Right.
In a nutshell, Donald, what's the secret to being a real estate baron and being able to manage the construction of a building? What is it, hiring the best managers or what?
Well, it's a lot of things. I mean, number one, I sort of pride myself on being able to get location. That's like an athlete. You know, I mean, there's a great baseball player. They can hit a ball. They can play golf better than other people. I've always had an ability to get a good location or to see what a good location is and transform it into a good location. And I've had that ability, and then I've had the ability to go out and get zoning and get it approved and get the building built under budget and ahead of schedule and build a better product. I mean, I'll build products that are better than my competition, and they do better than the competition, but I was always able to get great locations for some reason.
The book is Time to Get Tough, Making America #1 Again by Donald Trump. Tax China to Save Jobs, Strengthen American Muscle. It's worth reading, Donald. It's not just hype. It's a small book, but it's an important book. It's very pointedly important because people will listen to you, and it will start the dialogue going. And I think it's very important that people look at this. And I'm going to make a prediction, Donald. This show generates more book sales than any other radio show in this country. There are shows that are bigger, but there are none that have more of a poignantly loyal audience than mine. You watch what happens today on your sales, and you're going to see that you've. Oh no, you're going to see that you've got real estate in Michael Savage.
And I didn't do it for that reason. I have to tell. I did it because I think you're fantastic, and I think your show is fantastic. And you know what? That's great. And Amazon.com is probably the easiest place, or you go to Barnes and Noble to get the book. But Amazon.com is real easy to get it.
Donald, thanks for being with us on the Savage Nation.